All right, this is a bit of a intriguing notion. I am seeing people come to the defense of John Walker, U.S. agent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's okay to like this character. It is okay to even resonate with the ideals of a flawed person behind the shield this time around who might do some questionable actions here or there, like any human being would do if they are emotional, under duress, etc. Maybe they would take matters into their own hands, but I feel like people fundamentally misunderstand the portrayal of John Walker. He is not supposed to be this sort of valorous, always standout Boy Scout, right? That's why he's not really equipped to hold the shield akin to something like a Steve Rogers. He's supposed to be a lot more in a flawed position, and this was the government's pick for them to put a shield on someone and to have them represent the country. And we know that Steve went against the government with the Accords, yada yada yada. We know all that stuff, right? He saw superhumans like the Avengers as people too that needed rights, which is why he fought for them. But Steve is not a killer. That's one thing that people seem to forget. The ideals of Walker and Steve Rogers is that even though he was fighting Iron Man wanted to kill Bucky, and he could have killed Iron Man right there. He could have killed Tony. He didn't. He spared his other friend to save his other friend, saying that, oh, he's brainwashed. Bucky was brainwashed. It's not his fault. But I'm starting to see a pattern of people saying that they basically character assassinated John Walker in the MCU. I see it from Juster Bell, which I'm not going to play the video because I believe a Juster Bell video is equivalent to eating a cyanide capsule. I would rather see paint dry than to listen to this woman talk. Nothing but rage bait and yapping.
Not if you tied my tongue to your tailpipe and drove me 80 miles an hour naked across a field of broken glass. No, no, no!
Who the hell are you? The first of many. Cut off one head. Two more shall take its place. Hail Hydra!
And then there is EFAP, which also harbors the same opinion that Marvel really hates John Walker. I'm gonna kill the feed and show you guys Avengers gameplay because I think that's it for now for at least the live feed itself. And I want to talk about why this is intentional from Marvel, the MCU in particular, even dating back to the creation of John Walker himself, the US agent. You can say the sources from Wikipedia, I don't care. It is totally valid to the creation, the inception of John Walker from the creator himself, Mark Gruenwald. And Gruenwald was cited to say a quote that was general to this, that Walker was a counter to the general message of Captain America, the general message of patriotism being invariably good, describing him as someone who embodied patriotism in a way that Captain America didn't, a patriotic villain. He didn't say a good guy, he didn't say he was a baby face, he's saying he's a patriotic heel. He is someone who does bad shit. He said that basically I wanted to do the opposite of Steve Rogers. Okay, Steve Rogers is a poor northern urban boy. So I'll make a guy who is from rural middle class South. Cap is now old, so this guy will be a real young up and comer. Cap has lofty ideals, so I'll make a super patriot to be more realistic and more pragmatic. So I put together his background and character traits by playing the opposite game. So he wants someone to be this super soldier who is routed in more realism, and realism entails people making more mistakes even if they are pragmatic people. And he uses the word villain. He's a patriotic villain, meaning he's under the guise of the government, and we know the government in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and in Marvel in general is not the perfect little snowflakes and flowers under the rainbow. We have seen people commit illegal experiments in the background. We have seen people abuse their positions in power to create certain people. We have seen all of that embodied. We've seen the Accords. We've seen so much with the government. We've seen literally fucking the president of the United States turn into the Hulk and destroy the goddamn White House in front of us. All right, these are not perfect individuals in the United States, and Walker is definitely no exception to the rule. He first appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is portrayed by Wyatt Russell, the son of Kurt Russell. And what do I think of Walker in particular? I think Walker is fine. He demonstrates the flaws of, you know, patriotism and trying to do what's right with his own braggart personality. But he is not just this man that the MCU is dumping on. I think they are trying to show the original Mark Gruenwald philosophy of this sort of villain, this sort of realistic person who's trying to do right, who's trying to be a good man, but there's definitely some tinges of wrong in the process, and it's kind of weird that people are not understanding this, that it's intentional. One of my points that I wrote here is that Walker is seen to be a certified asshole to try to know better than everyone with some of the situations that he's in. We saw this with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We saw this with Thunderbolts, and there will be Thunderbolt spoilers, by the way. One of the examples is when he tried to push around, you know, go around and say, oh, I'm the US agent, I have authority here, saying this to the Dora Milaje, which was a bad move, which was cited by Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes, saying you shouldn't tussle with the Dora Milaje. They are highly trained, highly skilled warriors from Wakanda. You guys are walking into a field mine. You have no idea what has just transpired. Let's be diplomatic. Let's just talk about this. But then Walker decided to keep boasting and boasting and boasting, and they kept warning him and warning him and warning him in that scene, and then they beat his ass, right? Which once again shows the inexperience of Walker, shows that he can't diffuse a situation by talking, by trying to figure it out and use more of his brain, right? And that was all intentional to the flaws of the character. Pushing around Sentry. We didn't know that Sentry was this super experiment that was being worked on, at least to the viewer in the movie. He was this super experiment that was being worked on. And what is one of the things that Walker does in Thunderbolts? He pushes Sentry up against a wall. He tries to do the whole dick measuring contest, which one of the ladies I think cites in the scene. Like, I think it was Yelena. Let's just put our small dicks away. Let's think about a way to get out of here. Why are you trying to I understand you're trying to get information, wondering who this guy is, but you have no idea. And considering the extreme powers that Sentry has, considering that later in the movie he plays around with the Thunderbolts like a rag on a stick, I think it was a bad idea to try to be antagonistic toward the guy. Like, he wasn't antagonistic towards them. I understand reasoning, questioning, philosophies like that, but pushing him was not smart, knowing what we know now, of course. So that's another example of pushing caution to the wind. Neglecting his child. I know folks are going to contend this point, saying that Walker was 2 feet away when he touched Sentry and he entered the void and he saw his emotions, his PTSD, his failures. And Walker was doom scrolling on his phone, not paying attention to his kid 2 feet in front of him. What people like to say and contend towards this scene in particular is that, oh, he's only 2 feet away from the child. It's not like he was 6 feet away from the child and the child was trying to get out of the carriage or whatever. But here's my counterpoint to that scene. Before Walker, he's on his phone scrolling that he's a fallen Captain America, all the stuff after the events of killing the Flag Smasher. And then his wife just says, "You're not watching him, you're not paying attention, can you please get off your phone?" Then he sort of says, "Oh, you know what, fuck you, you can do it, I'm out of here." The thing is that despite him being 2 feet away, stuck in his phone, some people can scroll and get stuck into their phone for hours and not pay any attention. Some people have also done it on dates where they completely ignore the person on the other end that they're supposed to be talking to. They're stuck on their phone, and then the date's over, the person leaves. So you're doom scrolling, doom scrolling, doom scrolling. But the child could be communicating needs towards you in the process of drowning out the world and seeing your reputation and whatnot. And the kid was crying in the scene as Walker was doom scrolling. Clearly he wasn't paying enough attention to the child's needs. Like, what if the child was hungry, or what if the child needed to be, you know, picked up and sort of soothed in that regard, right? If he was a real individual who cared about his child right then and there, he would have said, "Okay, come on, son or daughter or whatever, everything's gonna be fine, I'm gonna pat your back, everything's gonna be okay. You want some food? You hungry? You want to go outside for a little bit?" Like, as you walk around with the kid and whatnot, and you try to comfort the child. That is what a real person would do who cares about their loved one very, very much. To not see them in agony over wanting something. Like, some needs are being communicated and Walker's not paying attention. He's knee deep in his phone, and electronics can drown out the world around you. We've seen it time and time again with some people. I don't think he was fully watching that kid, all right? Like, I think he was in his own little world when he noticed that his reputation was shattered, so to speak, and that meant a lot more to him in that moment, and that's what that scene tried to convey. And it also conveyed that, yes, this shattered the family life eventually, and the way that he talked to his wife is also not good. I don't know why people are defending it and saying that because the wife got on him for the kid being like 2 feet away, that it still means that Walker was in the right. Like, to shit on your spouse like that completely just for having one concern, that's why he had the divorce. So two people that are incompatible, you know, as you are in a relationship with someone, you need to find out flaws, of course, and you need to work together to resolve it and have a conflict resolution as opposed to screaming at each other like immature people. That is what I will say. And that conflict resolution did not happen, so Walker lost his wife. He killed a flag smasher. Now, another thing that people like to defend, this guy was a terrorist, and ultimately the flag smashers, they led to the death of Lamar. And I know, killing someone without powers, and the flag smashers are not innocent people, they are indeed terrorists. But my point of contention here is that Steve Rogers, even in moments of grief or losing friends or whatnot, he still would have arrested this guy and brought him in, and that would have been the heroic thing to do. But we're talking about a patriotic villain who has a friend that he cares about dearly, and now his emotions are getting to him. Even the flag smasher that he killed did not have anything to do with Lamar's death. He just captured the nearest person, beat him. He beat him clean, by the way. He beat this guy on the ground into submission, and Walker was showing no mercy to the guy who wasn't even the one who killed Lamar, by the way. I'm just letting people know that for sure. I can see if it was the person that killed Lamar, maybe he's trying to get some revenge, but even Steve wouldn't do that because vengeance is not Steve's MO. He has him on the ground, beaten. The guy says, "I didn't do it, it wasn't me." He raises the fucking shield and he slams it on his head like several times while everyone is recording, and the scene of the blood on the shield, very symbolic, by the way. It was cool. It was a cool scene, but it was to show that the newest Captain America is now after blood. Has Steve done anything equivalent to this? No. Has Sam done anything equivalent to this where they legitimately executed someone on camera who surrendered? No. It's supposed to show you that this is a morally questionable scene, even if the guy was a terrorist. Again, he surrendered. The proper thing to do would have been to bring him into justice, handcuffed, and maybe interrogate him and find out where everyone else is. Well, why the Flag Smashers are doing a couple of things, maybe get some more info out of the guy, etc. But no, he just straight up fucking killed him.
It wasn't me! It wasn't me!
And I only wanted to insert this portion into the video because I do think it's funny. I did a little way back into 2021 when Falcon and the Winter Soldier was out, and there were people who had mixed opinions about Walker before growing to like him and growing to like his character arc and everything. There are people saying, I enjoyed seeing John Walker get a taste of his medicine, getting his ass kicked. John Walker is still a bitch. Going down the list, there's people who, you know, said fuck Walker on social media during this time. There were people also defending him, and there was a blend of that. Walker should come back as the villain. Fuck John Walker right there. There were people who did not like the portrayal of the character initially before he started to grow on them, and I think that's the point, having that sort of division in there, where in the MCU I do agree he's not a complete full villain, but he does do bad shit, and you could say some of that is kind of villainous tactics, like killing someone in cold blood when they surrender. That's something that a bad guy or maybe even an anti-hero would do, not so much necessarily a good guy that has Boy Scout tendencies like a fucking Steve Rogers shit. Again, you know I'm gonna bring that comparison all the time, you know, the Captain America. And I can see people saying that John Walker isn't really a bad person, he's a flawed person, and he's not a Captain America. I think that follow-up logic is also fine as well, but I did see that people said, oh, Wyatt Russell got death threats, and there was some forums that were sort of deconfirming that information, so I'm not gonna really insert that into the video. I'm gonna take it as is something at face value. I don't really believe it until more evidence comes up, but truly and honestly and sincerely, with how fandoms are nowadays, you know, Star Wars fandom, the fucking fandom menace, fandoms are kind of shit, I'm not going to lie. But yes, people did switch up on John Walker. They went from not standing his ass to actually liking the character over time, and I believe that the showrunner said that was the job, to get people to like him, but you don't necessarily agree with everything that he does, and that's the interpretation I see from that. So when I see people blindly agreeing with every action John Walker has made so far, it's just kind of hilarious. That's not good. That's not morally good. That's not what a true hero would do. One of my favorite examples of a hero fighting against their inner demons to kill someone was Batman and the Brave and the Bold, where he finally confronts Joe Chill, the guy who murdered Martha Wayne and Thomas Wayne, and he has every singular opportunity, every chance to take vengeance, and he doesn't do it. It's like two birds like perched on his shoulders telling him, well, do it, don't do it, etc. But he decides for himself not to kill this guy. And I want to play this clip in bits for context because it's one of my favorite moments of Batman in animated format thus far. It's been many of them, but this is probably one of my favorites because, again, this shows true heroism.
You were the slinking coward who murdered Thomas and Martha Wayne.
That was a lifetime ago.
Yes, my lifetime. You took them without mercy or regret and in cold blood, Jill.
How could you possibly?
I know because I watched it happen. I know because I am the son of the man you murdered. I am Bruce Wayne.
Oh no.
He is beaten. Let your devotion to justice temper your rage.
He took your parents, ruined your life. Fulfill your destiny. Become what you have trained to be, an agent of vengeance. He knows who you are. If this man lives, Batman dies.
Batman may die, but Bruce Wayne... never.
But there's the fact that Walker tried to kill Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes for confronting him and just asking, dude, you murdered someone in cold blood in front of national viewers on phone camera, cell phone footage. I think it's time to surrender the shield. What does Walker do? It's like, no, you guys are against me now. You always were. He fights Bucky Barnes and Sam Wilson, and these are also, you know, good guys, by the way. And they try to basically take the shield away, and Walker tries to kill Sam. I'm like, oh, what did Sam do to him? Now that we question this into the fray, outside of like, I know what you're gonna say. Oh, Sam made a couple of jabs in his way. Does he deserve to be killed for simply saying that Walker was unfit? No, that's going a bit too far, isn't it? If we put that into perspective, that's going a bit too far. Again, I like the Walker character in the MCU, but I'm not gonna pretend he's perfect because that's not the way that he was made. It's not. It's not. We gotta go through the bad stuff right here. He makes irrational decisions that shows he cannot be equipped to be Captain America. I guess you can go back to the Dora Milaje thing where he tried to walk in there all braggart and then he lost. And it's a multitude of decisions to that point in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which was the point of his character in that show, to show that there's a different perspective holding the mantle now. Walker is unstable, and the whole point is this is the reason to show he's unfit to be Captain America, and he never was fit to be Captain America. There's a scene in the Thunderbolts where they're in this holding cell, and I think that they all are about to get fried or whatever, and Walker tries to be braggart again and initiate all of his ideas. Oh, my ideas are the ones that work. I'm the one that should do this, that, and the third. As opposed to taking in the team's opinions, seeing what other people think. Okay, what do you think to get out of here, etc., or whatever. He just tries to do things and it doesn't make any sense, leading to the infamous jump scene where he tries to jump all the way into a shaft and he falls down. And it's like, it's funny as fuck. It's like, that's a entirely failed plan. How else are we gonna get out of here? And lo and behold, the person who is the mentally ill, distressed loser, Sentry, he's the one that had the best idea, because that idea formulating around the asterisk and climbing up the shaft slowly but surely, that's the one that worked. It wasn't something that he thought all the way through, but it's the one that led them to eventually work together and get out of the situation. And it shows that teamwork is better than individualism. It shows that there is no I in team. And Walker didn't understand that for a while during that situation in Thunderbolts. Is Walker learning? I don't want people to think I'm just shitting on Walker just to shit on Walker. Is Walker learning? Yes, there was baby steps of proper teammate saving and patriotism and laying on the grenade, as Steve would call it, where he puts his life on the line for his teammates. We've seen it with Sentry when he held like a couple of bullets at Bucky's direction, and guess what happened? Walker jumped in the way and shielded Bucky, showing that I'm finally doing it. I'm finally learning my lesson of understanding what it takes to lay on the wire for my teammates. And that was good. That was good storytelling. But again, it's like, dude, another thing about Walker is that he blindly follows government rules. Where, again, as I told you, the government is not the perfect sunshine and flower in Marvel. They never will be, because of some of the things they were behind, or some of the power that they wanted from other things. And again, Ross was the president. He destroyed the fucking White House. Everything's not sunshine and rainbows with the US government wanting resources and wanting things for their own experiments and for their own needs and for sometimes their own misdeeds. The MCU does not want you to hate Walker. They want you to see why he's flawed and why he isn't fit for the mantle. And he has his moments, like I said, where he protected Bucky. He's a self-proclaimed asshole. He's impulsive. Doesn't question authority. All of the things that Steve wasn't. He looks the part, but he doesn't have the same value. Captain America is just very anti-government when they're in the wrong. And Steve and Sam showed this. Walker is a government plant. This is why this talking point doesn't make sense. And I know the last one is, above all, the stupidest thing I think I ever seen for criticism. It's where people say that, oh well, Ghost and Yelena made fun of him. They just girl bossed him. They yes queened him when they were making fun of him. And the context of that scene is that Walker having impulsive reactions is true to his character, but also he's getting a taste of his own medicine from characters that are also equally assholes. Remember, Yelena said we all sucked at one point, even herself, showing that she's not the wholesome and perfect rainbow that people sort of try to paint her out to be. Critical drinker, although she feminist icon, girl balls, blah blah blah. But even she said we suck, citing that she knows she's flawed too. She knows she's emotional too. She knows she has problems too. That is the ensemble of the Thunderbolts, that we're all not perfect people, but we come together when need be. Oh, asterisk the new Avengers, okay? It's like we're assembling when no one else has at this point. That's the entire point of the scene, is that Walker plans around them and he's failing and he's being laughed at. And everyone within this team has flaws, because if they didn't, Yelena wouldn't have all of this traumatic PTSD behind her. Neither would she say that everyone sucks, including herself, making fun of herself in a later scene. What the fuck? You know, in all of my time in being a fan of Marvel and even the MCU, I have to say this, and I always say it, and I say it with my friend each and every single time. People always say that the MCU is just slop and it has surface level storytelling, but man, each and every single time these people cannot understand what these characters are saying in this movie, in other movies, in particular scenes where it matters, where they are conveying specific points, and it's like folks just tune out their brain for their own narrative and they don't pay attention to characterization, storytelling, and character deets. They just ignore it. And every single time that I think of this, it leads me to make videos like this. where if you're not paying attention that Walker is flawed on purpose, then you either are not watching, you are not paying attention, or you want to hop on the hate wagon and parrot talking points over and over and over again. You're yapping for nothing, and it's just non-substantial counterpoints that you're making. All right, like, and I understand, like, hey, you know, I am opinionated. I like Walker. I like Walker too. This is not a Walker hate video. I'm sorry if you hear noise in the background, but this video is to highlight the things that Walker has done that are morally questionable. And it was also done on purpose, as well as highlighting some of his positive traits, like, once again, defending Bucky, or at times when Walker's plan actually works. Sometimes there are moments where sometimes he plans out in the movie and it turns out to be okay or works out, and other times it doesn't. But I believe that realistic quote from the creator, he's a realistic person, not always perfect, was perfectly demonstrated in the MCU, and that's part and core of the character itself. But we're not gonna pretend like he didn't try to shield bash fucking Sam Wilson. We're not gonna pretend that he didn't do any of that shit, because he did, and it is what it is. So I am Renegade Operative. I am signing out. This video is funny. I saw a Jester Bell video and I'm like, I'm not clicking on this shit because all of her points are just like literally talking in circles, hate wagons. Like, what the fuck? I think she made a comparison of James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy, saying that Superman was going to be the same tonality as Guardians of the Galaxy. And I'm telling myself, she said this before the movie has even come out, before Superman 2025 has fucking released. Why would you say it's the same in tonality as Guardians of the Galaxy and you haven't even fucking seen Superman 2025? This is on record. That is complete rage bait. That comparison makes no sense whatsoever. Oh, there's no hype for Fantastic Four. What? Like, what? If this is an era of MCU where people are kind of saying, okay, well, Marvel's back, blah, 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 back on track, they're gonna want to see the next film to see where the post-credits of Thunderbolts actually is going, which is more Fantastic Four. Again, there are lots of people who watch the trailers, social media, all that other stuff. I know it doesn't really reflect on ticket buyers or whatever, but I would imagine that word of mouth could carry a movie. That is hypothetical, that is possible. And if this movie is definitely huge, that's another thing she's gonna eat her own words on. She's gonna eat her own crow on. That Superman comparison is just stupid nonsense. It seems like she just wants to really fucking spite on James Gunn just because she didn't like Guardians. And I'm like, okay, it's fine. You can decide not to like Guardians of the Galaxy. All of those films are at least released. And you can decide not to like trailers, but to say that both of them are going to be one and the same on tonality requires watching Superman 2025 before even saying that fucking yap fest. I hate this channel. I hate her comparisons. I hate when she says Miss Marvel is just an industry plant to be popular. What the fuck are you talking about? Shut up. Like, sometimes I just want to say shut up, bro. Like, seriously, stop yapping. Calm the fuck down, all right? There are people that do like Kamala Khan and they don't think that she's an industry plant. Calm the fuck down. Like, Iman Valenti is infectious as the character and she has fans from that alone. Like, stop all this cap, bro. Like, seriously. Whew, let me woo-saw. Let me calm down, because Jester Bell is probably one of the worst comic book channels of all time, in my opinion. Right up there next to Harsh Critics, always rage baiting about the fucking Snyderverse. And it's probably even more of these channels that I thoroughly dislike. But let me woo-saw. Oh my god. Yeah, EFAP is also kind of bad with their analysis, and ranting for vengeance as well. A fucking racist Nazi nerd. Like, that channel is complete dog shit, man. Every singular time a story can't be a story, it's always crying about woke, or he talks about ugly people when his teeth looks like he's been eating rocks and boulders for a living. Like, what the fuck, my guy? Get some fucking, I don't know, Clearasil on your teeth, like. Like, Jesus Christ, dude. That channel is also ass, bro. Fucking shit, dude. In conclusion, I believe people just are focusing on the positive aspects of Walker alone. But when it comes to the negative aspects, they are leaving that off the table for their own narrative to say that Thunderbolts is a bad movie. You are misanalyzing Walker, and you're not combining the negative traits into what makes him a flawed individual in the first place. Like, you're forgetting that side of the character. Anyway, I'm out for real this time. I'll see you guys next time before this construction van gives me a brain aneurysm. See you guys later. Be good people. And yeah, end of the video right here.